You know that feeling when a teacher says group project? For a lot of us, it's a mix of dread and chaos, right? Last-minute scrambles, confusing roles. Well, what if the solution came from a place you'd least expect? The tech industry. We're going to dive into how a framework called Scrum can take that classroom chaos and turn it into a powerhouse of collaboration.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why you'd even bring Scrum into a school. Then, we'll translate the team roles from the office to the classroom. After that, we'll get into the actual rituals that make it all tick. And finally, we'll break down why this whole thing just works.
All right, let's set the stage. Why on earth are we talking about a tech framework for a school project? What's the connection here?
I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. That last group project, was it a smooth ride, or was it more like organized chaos? You know the drill. Nobody's sure who's doing what, there's a frantic rush at the end, and usually one person ends up doing most of the work. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Well, that's exactly where Scrum comes in. Imagine having a proven system that's specifically designed to untangle that mess. A system that brings order, clarity, and a real sense of focus to the team, turning that chaotic mess into a truly well-oiled machine from day one.
So, to really get how this works, we have to start with the people. Scrum has some very specific roles, and they're a little different from what you'd expect. Let's see how they translate to a classroom setting.
And this right here is the key shift. It's not just a teacher telling students what to do anymore. Instead, everyone, the instructor and the students, becomes part of one single collaborative team. Everyone has a part to play.
Okay, so first up, the instructor. They become what's called the product owner. You can think of them as the client for the project. Their job isn't to tell the team how to do the work, but to be super clear on what the final result should be and why it matters. They set the finish line. Then, within each student group, one person steps up to be the Scrum Master. Now, this person is not the boss. Their job is to be a facilitator. They run the meetings, they keep the team organized, and, this is crucial, they clear any roadblocks that get in the team's way. They're there to serve the team, not to command it.
And finally, you have the development team. This is literally everyone else in the student group. These are the people on the ground, doing the actual work. The research, the writing, the building, they're the experts who figure out the best way to get the job done.
So we have our team, everyone knows their role, but what do they actually do? How does the work happen? Well, that's where the rituals come in. Think of these as the heartbeat of the whole process.
It really just boils down to this simple repeating cycle. You start with sprint planning, then you have your daily stand-ups, and you wrap up with a retrospective. Let's look at what each of those actually means.
Sprint planning is basically the team's weekly kickoff meeting. Everyone gets together, looks at the big project, and breaks off a small chunk they can finish in 1 week. They decide exactly what they're going to tackle and who's doing what for that week's sprint.
Then you have stand-ups. These are super quick, daily or every other day check-ins. We're talking 10-15 minutes tops. Each person just answers 3 simple questions. What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And is anything blocking my way? It keeps everyone perfectly in sync.
And at the end of every single week, the team holds a retrospective. Now, this meeting isn't about the project work itself. It's about the teamwork. What went well for us this week? What was a struggle? And what's one thing we can change to work better together next week? It's all about getting better over time.
Okay, so you have the roles, you have the weekly rituals, but what's the big deal? Why does this system actually lead to better projects and, less stress?
When you put it all together, the benefits are huge. The goals are crystal clear from the start. You see real, tangible progress every single week. Communication isn't an afterthought. It's built into the system. And students get this incredible sense of ownership. It shifts the entire focus from one giant, scary deadline to small, practical steps you take every day.
And I think this quote just says it all perfectly. That one massive, overwhelming deadline that's weeks away, it disappears. Instead, the project becomes a series of small, manageable wins. Every week, the team accomplishes something real, and that builds momentum and confidence like nothing else.
So it makes you think. We're not just teaching students content, we're teaching them how to work together, how to solve problems, and how to take ownership. These are the skills they'll actually use for the rest of their lives. So maybe, just maybe, this isn't just a new way to do a project. Maybe this is the future of student collaboration.